And we're live here too.
All
Well,
right,
there you
man.
go.
We are.
Humility.
Yeah.
We have a list of things we want to talk about over the next couple months. We chart them out, and sometimes we jump around. And you had a video presentation as you normally do.
Sounds so formal, video presentation.
Well, it was. I mean,
No,
a
I know,
video
I'm just
clip,
kidding.
a video.
I'm
I
kidding.
don't know, a short.
Yeah, short. We'll go with that.
It was a short.
Yes.
But it really talked about, and I won't say humility was how you define the short, but it basically was about humility.
Yeah, it was about successful people are unassuming.
Yeah, and I want to maybe vet that out a little more. Humility is a big thing with me too, because I didn't have a lot of it when I was younger, and only like the last decade or so I realized the power of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny how when you get through a down period in your life, it's amazing how you find humility. Yeah. And if you're paying attention, you realize, oh, if I would have had this 20 years ago, you learn, right?
Absolutely.
But I'm in a situation where I've had entrepreneurial journeys. I'm now in an organization, and I'm getting to interact with it's wonderful, different types of people. And I'm learning and relearning about how important humility is within an organization.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the idea of what it does for other people when you exhibit humility, but also what it does for oneself.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can go a million different ways.
Here we go.
But I think humility and being humble are two very important things when it comes to like just in your career, in your profession, in entrepreneurship, because if you don't have humility or you aren't humble, you're not going to continually learn. Like I look at, I can learn from everybody. So I don't ever think I'm better than anybody or know everything. Like I'm the most experienced attorney in my office, but I learn something from everybody every day because I'm humble enough and I have the humility to understand I don't know everything. And I want other people's perspectives. And I think there's a lot of people when they get to a level of success, a certain level, they tend to become cocky or they exhibit this unrealistic or unreasonable level of confidence. I think, and that prevents them from getting to the next level of success. It's really a hindrance when you get to that way. Because if you watch a lot of people on social media, they get to a certain level and they're very showy and they have no humility. They're not humble about anything. They brag about everything, which, okay, maybe that's a shtick or something, but I think it always prevents people from getting to the next level because to truly be successful, not just monetarily or financially, spiritually, mentally, physically, you have to have a level of humility in life. And I define humility as really just understanding I'm not better than anybody. I don't know everything. I'm just here to learn and to help and to serve others. And I think if you walk through life that way, it makes it a lot easier to navigate, and it makes success a lot easier to obtain.
For sure. I once heard something to the effect of you start out with humility or you get humbled into it.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. I mean, that's a great statement. I never heard that. And I'm definitely going to use that because it's true. Because you're right. Like because again, some people come out of the gates very cocky. I'm sure I was like that in my 20s, right?
We all have an element of that, right?
We all have an element of that. And I think life does humble you. When you realize that I don't know it all, like I'm getting kicked in the nuts every once in a while. And if you come out of the gates with that cockiness or that arrogance, you will get humbled very quick. I've watched it happen over and over again to people. And if they understood that humility is actually a powerful thing, it humanizes an individual. It makes somebody relatable. If it's authentic humility, not faked, right? Because some people fake it, and like, oh, I'm just this, I'm just that. You can tell they're faking it, right?
Certainly.
But if you have a true, authentic level of humility in life, I think you're setting yourself up for success at a level you can't even understand at this point.
Yeah, and there's so many ways that humility is an asset to one who's, who's exhibiting that. Humility is an asset. It from a negotiation standpoint, oftentimes tactically,
absolutely,
it's an advantage too. And I think that's the misnomer is that if you're humble or if you exhibit humility, at any point in time, there's the misnomer that you're being weak. Or you're a weak person. You're a weak negotiator. You're a weak business person.
No.
So it could be farther from the truth.
I love the saying, and I wish I was one that came up with it because it's so true. The loudest in the room is usually the weakest in the room. Because if you look at like I said, like in that video, I said that the truly successful people are unassuming. you don't even realize they're there. You don't even like sometimes the smartest people in the room are the ones just watching and observing. You don't even realize they're there.
Right.
Because they have that level of humility. They don't need to speak.
Right.
They don't need to get people to look at them. They don't need to be the showy ones. They can just sit and observe. And to me, that's a powerful thing. Like I've used that my entire career. Just listen and watch and observe and pick up on things. And you can almost fly under the radar, so to speak. And it can be a tactical tool. You know, if you truly have humility, right? You can't, it's something you can't fake. And that's what I have to, people have to understand. You can't fake humility. People see through it very quickly. But if you truly have humility in life and you can use it tactically to your advantage, absolutely, I think you can.
Yeah, it's we live in a braggadocious state right now, especially our younger folks, because they're growing up with the social media. I think it's more difficult today, I believe, for younger people to have humility than maybe say generations prior, because of the virtual world they're maneuvering into. And a lot of it is it's a look at me society for them.
It really is. And that's the scary part with my kids, right? They're growing up in that generation. And you try and teach your kids humility. You try and teach your kids to be humble and not be showy. But also, if you live a certain lifestyle, you're going to get your kids nice things. They're going to have nicer experiences than others. So that's a dilemma I always go through, right?
Yeah,
our kids,
it's a balance.
It is, and it's hard because you don't want your kids, and I think all of my kids appreciate everything they have. I don't think any of them are spoiled or look at life that way. But it's something I've always struggled with. You know, giving them everything I want to give them, but also making sure they understand and appreciate it. That it took work to get there, and that can be taken away at any moment. You know.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think that you must be shown humility as a child for you to get it when you're older. I think it's easier.
Yeah.
You know, but at some point along the way in someone's journey, you know, let's just say from the age of early 20s through their work life, at some point in time, if you really are a person that doesn't operate from it, at some point in time, you're going to get kicked in the groin in a big way somewhere along the line. And if you pay just a minutia of attention, you're going to realize that, hey, I've got to change how I interact with people, how I need to realign. And maybe you can't even understand that it's humility, but there will be moments that you will be able to identify humility or the lack thereof and then act on it. The question is going to be, are you going to see it? Are you going to feel it? And then are you going to act on it?
Well, the first question is, are you going to see? Because I think that's the biggest problem. Most people lack the awareness to understand they need humility.
Let's dig into that. Why do you believe that is? How did we get here?
Well, I think it's a confidence issue. I think people that lack confidence lack social and self-awareness.
Okay.
Because they're constantly in their own head. They're thinking about themselves, how people perceive them. Right, because they lack this confidence.
I think that's most of society today.
That's a lot of society. Yeah, I do. I mean, I think it's tragic to say that, but I do. When you observe people that don't have social or self-awareness, I always say it's because they lack some level of confidence in something. Because they're overthinking stuff, they're questioning themselves, they're questioning more so how people look at them and perceive them. To me, like, I don't give a shit. Like when I was younger, I cared about that. Absolutely, I cared about that. Like, oh, what are people going to think of my shirt I'm wearing or this or that? But as you get older and you gain more wisdom, no one's really thinking about you. Like, I don't really give a shit. Like I am who I am. You're either going to like me or you're not. And that's okay either way.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to offend anybody or harm anybody or hurt anybody. But you don't have to like me, and that's okay. I think people lack that awareness because they're so like I'm an observer of people. Like I'm more focused on other people than myself. I think a lot of people that lack confidence, they're so focused on themselves and what you're thinking of me and how my words are going to be taken by you. And am I going to sound stupid, or is this going to be the right way of saying it? Or what are people going to think?
Very much
leave?
So. Right.
I'm just thinking like, how can I help you? I'm not even thinking about what you think of me. I'm trying to help you solve your problem. And I think there's a big distinction in society where people are like that, and there's other people on the other side that just they don't have that awareness, and you can spot it instantaneously.
Yeah. I think that I think that what you just articulated has bred in the last 15, 20 years because of social media or because of the web in general, and then social media particularly, I think it has bred a lot of narcissism.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. How would you describe narcissism in this situation?
Put me on the definition trail.
Well, you don't have to be like the dictionary definition.
Well, it's when I think of a narcissist, I think of someone who's so self-absorbed and they prioritize themselves and their wants and their interactions above everyone else's wants and their needs.
Yeah,
in every instance, and it becomes very manipulative.
Yeah,
but I think that we're breeding a lot of narcissism or narcissists because of the way we interact online and virtually with each other, or the constant yearn for attention.
Yeah, it's the yearning for from a narcissistic standpoint. I think it's the yearning for attention and control. So I think narcissists are looking at control. Like, how do I control and manipulate a situation
without
or a
question?
person?
Without question.
And that to me is, you shouldn't have to want to control somebody, right? You shouldn't want to manipulate,
or an organization, or a group of people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And again, I think a lot of people get caught up in. I'm going to come back to awareness. I think a big question with awareness and why people struggle with it, because they haven't identified who they are. So it's hard to be aware of how you're acting if you don't even understand who you are yet. Like, you haven't developed yourself and your sense of self and your persona enough to know, this is who I truly am, and I'm acting like an asshole.
Are they aware that they're not aware?
Most people no. I mean, so there's no awareness for their lack of awareness. Like,
right.
You just keep taking this down a rabbit hole.
I think that's the crux of the problem.
Yeah, 100%. Because again, people, look, human nature, we're egocentric by nature, right? We're born to be egocentric. We care about us, right? The id, the ego, the superego. So it is the most powerful piece of that. So I think people are very egocentric, right? They're always looking at, their needs first. I think when you get to a higher level of wisdom in life, you start looking at other people's needs first, and how those needs can interact with your own or intersect with your own. But it's truly about the other people. But I think people do lack that awareness because they're not even thinking about it, because they're just so caught up in themselves.
Yeah. And it's,
I mean, go into a restaurant, go into I get fascinated by it. Like, if you go into like a fast food chain, like a Chipotle, for instance, right? You watch people in line. Watch how people interact with the people behind making their food. You can tell the people who lack confidence or actually have the self-awareness and don't give a shit. Like,
good litmus test. Yeah,
it's a complete, swath of society across all levels. And if you just go there and observe people,
right,
like and how they interact with the workers,
right.
You can point out who lacks confidence, who has confidence.
I would agree wholeheartedly.
Figured out themselves.
I would agree wholeheartedly.
Just by the way they move, the word choices they make, how they say the words, with their inflection, their voices, how they carry themselves to the workers,
facial expressions and communication,
everything. It's wild to me. Like, and it's, if people would just spend a little time studying other people, you'd be able to figure out how to navigate life a lot faster and a lot easier.
But again, it goes back to that narcissism. Yes, you're right.
Yes,
we would learn by watching others in society, but we don't.
Because we think our way is the right way.
We assume, we believe we assume / believe that we're perfect and we're doing it right, and our way is the best way. Yeah. And we don't self-examine. We don't look internally. And in turn, if you do that enough and it's abrasive enough, you end up really pigeonholing yourself in, whether it's family, whether it's organization, whether it's a social circle, whatever it is, you really can pigeonhole yourself into a position where you might not be able to recover in that particular organization. Yeah. And it's a problem. It's a very, especially, I believe in organizations, it's really a problem.
Oh, 100%. I think, because again, I think organizations are a different dynamic, right? You're bringing together people that have no relation, blood or otherwise. They're basically becoming a quote unquote family, because you're spending 40 hours a week with these people. Yeah. And you're creating this cohesive bond in this culture. So I think there is this level of it's bad in corporate America or in
Do
organizations.
you feel it's dangerous to use that word family when it comes to corporate?
I see. Again, I don't necessarily think so, because again, like you spend a lot of time with people that you work with. Like you spend a lot of time with people.
Here's my argument, though.
Okay.
My argument is you do, and you may spend years with the same group of people and cultivating and having successes and failures and all that stuff. But the moment that organization makes a decision and you're no longer part of the picture, it's instant, it's immediate, it's permanent, and it's quiet. You're out on an island by yourself. A lot of people they walk away from the organization, or they're forced out, and that family disappears. And I would argue that the essence of a family is that no one gets abandoned.
Yeah. Okay. So I would agree, but I think, but let me flip that, because I think I've left organizations where I still stay friends with people. I've developed the relationships.
Yeah.
So I still feel like there's a family I left. It's just maybe a distant family now, but I've kept the relationships up because I cared.
Okay. So
it's a level of caring you have to bring to a position.
And maybe my definition of it from the start was different. So when you have a large organization that cultivates the idea of like, we're like a family, well, the organization doesn't treat the
it has to be a two-way street.
Correct.
Yeah.
That often doesn't happen.
You're absolutely right. That is something that I think is important. And I want to kind of go back to a point that you were talking about. So we were talking about individuals and different things. I always say, as individuals, right, we're always trying to figure shit out or trying to figure it out ourselves. But if you are getting friction in life, like there's some difficulty or some friction you're feeling, that is, I believe, a sign to start looking inward. And most people don't, because they want to point the fingers at the frictions caused by someone else, right? But if there's friction in your life, you have a part in that. And that is like, anytime I've had any type of resistance in my life, personal, professional, emotional, physical, it's like, what am I doing wrong? What can I improve upon? For instance, an injury, right? Take a physical injury. That's a physical friction, right? Okay. What did I do to cause this, and how do I prevent it from happening in the future? Okay. My shoulder hurts because I did X. I need to do Y to rehab it, then not do X again.
Correct.
Look at the friction. Same thing, personal or professional. Like, okay, why am I getting this friction with this person in my office? What am I doing to contribute to it?
Correct.
And if you understand that and adjust behavior, it changes the outcome. But most people don't want to take responsibility. That's the whole point of Stoicism, right? I can't control what you do. I can only control my actions and how I feel. So if I'm getting friction from you, if you're in a relationship and I have friction from you, I can't control what you're doing. All I can look at is what I've done, what I've felt, and what I've let those emotions do to me, and how do I learn from that and change behavior. That's it. Most people won't do that because they're looking to blame somebody else.
1,000,000%. And the irony of the whole thing, we've talked about this many times. The irony is Stoicism is easier.
It's super easy. Yes. It really is. I mean, the more I understand it, and I'm still like just scratching the surface of it all, but it does make it very easy, because there's things I don't give a shit about. If I can't control, like if you're upset about something that happened, I can't control it. I can't control your emotions.
Correct.
So why do I give a shit?
Correct.
If it's something I did and you come to me and we discuss it and I say, okay, I get it. I can change that, or we can address that. But if it's something you're just upset about and you let it sit with you, okay, like I can't do anything about it. It's not my problem to worry about.
It just goes back to emotional intelligence, which, I know that term has been beaten up over the past decade or so, but it's just true. I mean, if you can't harness what you're feeling and how you react to your internal feelings, it's going to destroy you or destroy elements of your life. Yeah.
I always try, and I've done this for years, and I'm so glad I read a book a long time ago about emotional intelligence, and it was kind of an off the wall book, but it talked about like anytime you feel a certain way, that is a sign to examine yourself. Like when you get like pissed about something, like the friction thing, but it was more about just talking about feelings and emotions. Like something irritates you, or you're like, why am I angry in traffic? Like, why am I angry when someone cuts me off? Like, it's not the fact that there's a trigger, that the cutting off was a trigger, but it's something deeper. And when you start looking at that and understanding those deeper emotions and where they're coming from, you uncover a lot about yourself.
Certainly.
Like I uncovered a lot of insecurities I had when I was younger, right? By just looking at things like that. Like, okay, like then you start building it. Once you understand your insecurities, you can build upon them and make them less insecure. Then you build that confidence. But most people aren't doing that. They're not looking at that because it's a hard thing to do.
Well, I would make the argument that part of the reason why we're so stressed in traffic often is that we are poorly prepared, meaning we have left, we have not provided ourselves enough cushion in our schedule. I mean, think about it. If you're going and you got a time to the, if you're an employee and you got a time to the minute, you know that you're going to go from Green Tree to Fifth Avenue downtown and you got 13 minutes to do it. And, I do it in 11 usually in my apartment, and I'm at my desk by 12 minutes by the time I leave my apartment. And you get used to this cycle. Of course, you're going to be angry in traffic. Everything's going to piss you off. Everything, if you're racing the clock, but how many people do that? I think a lot of people do that. Had you just left a half hour early,
give yourself some time.
You wouldn't care who cut you off. You wouldn't care.
You're right. It's just people push up against deadlines. They're imposed deadlines. So I look at, I just get pissed about traffic. Now I look at, I can't control the traffic. I'm sitting in it. So I'll just put on music and listen. There's no point in me getting pissed that I'm sitting in bumper to bumper traffic.
You can't control it.
I can't control it. So that, again, coming back to stoicism, if I can't control it, I'm not going to let it control me. I'm not going to let my inability to control traffic make me emotional. So when I take away the power of that, I'm in control of the situation. I'm sitting in the traffic, but I'm emotionally in control. And that's a freeing feeling.
Certainly.
I mean, it really is. And I think people they don't think about it that way. They just get caught up.
It requires us to look inward. And that's the most, it's like holding up the mirror and then taking the next step, which is to stare into that mirror.
Stare into it. It's ugly.
And keep staring.
It's just it's gross. But you're right. And again, coming back to your point about people not giving themselves enough time, that just comes down to, again, looking into the mirror. Why are you late? Why? What is the issue? There has to be a reason why you are late.
And usually there's no real issue. It's just simply no discipline. It's a decision.
It's a decision. Exactly. That's what people don't want to admit. They'll say, I was late because of traffic. You were late because of a decision you made, not because of the traffic. The traffic was a byproduct of your decision, but you left at X time. That was the decision you made, and you were risking sitting in traffic or not. If you had left at X minus 15, less likely you're sitting in traffic. You chose the first decision. Traffic was the byproduct. You're late is the result. But the cause of it all was a decision you made. But most people don't want to admit it was them that made the decision that caused the result. It's not my fault. It was traffic. It's not my fault. This person didn't do this, or this person didn't do that. Well, no, you made a decision not to do X.
I think that's the cause of a lot of employer-employee issues too. And listen, look, employers are certainly guilty in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
But when you talk about the individual performance of employees, oftentimes the employee is, they're looking where they're not making the mark, or mistakes that may happen. Oftentimes people look to deflect or blame someone else, and that internally mucks things up.
Everything is a decision. Everything we do is a decision, right? For me to get up at 4 a.m. is a decision. For me to sleep until 5 is a decision, and that's going to impact the rest of my day. If I get up at 4, I know I can get in the office by 6:30. If I get up at 5, I'm not going to get in until 7:30. That throws my day off. So I just make the decision to get up earlier and get in, because I'm looking at how this one decision is going to impact the 50 decisions I need to make the rest of the day.
Right.
If I fuck up the first decision, the rest of the decisions are not going to go as well. And it comes down to it's looking at, if you start looking at life as each decision you make every day and how it impacts the next, you tend to start unpacking things in your life a lot easier.
And that is what you just said. It, to me, is one of the beauties of journaling on a regular basis.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
When you write on paper and you slow your brain down and you you know, whether you're actually mind mapping it out or you're just writing a paragraph, I mean, you're just vomiting on the ink there on the page, whatever. When you write regularly and you talk about mental process, your day, everything unwinds, and you will see everything splay out.
Yeah.
And you'll realize that, oh, man, I had a rough day because this happened to me. As you're writing it, you will naturally come and reacquaint yourself with the solution that you know is in here, but you'll reacquaint yourself with it.
Right. I mean, journaling is
like magic.
It really is. And I encourage everybody to do it because it is a very
But you got to be honest with yourself. And you know what? It's interesting. I think that journaling, serious, deep journaling, was what brought humility to me when I really needed it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because I made it a point to be honest with myself, and all the books, the two major books I read on journaling said that it's useless if you're telling yourself, if you're writing fiction in there, and you're pretending, that it's the reality.
Oh, listen, dude, if I would cringe going back and read some of my journals from years ago, just where my head was.
Right.
But it's also
there's value to it at the time.
There's value to it, exactly. Like it's, and even now, if you go look back, there's value to it to understand at a particular snapshot in time where I was mentally and how I got through it. Like that's what I like, and I've done that. I mean, I don't always go back and read my journals. I'm not like you. At the end of the year, I do that. Like I have them. I kind of park them on a shelf. But there are ones that I went back to a couple of times where I'm like, I kind of felt like I went through this before. And I'll go search and find that year or that journal and kind of just read through my thoughts at the time. And find a different solution. I'm like, oh, it didn't work then. Here's what I got to do now. And it's just interesting because like just reading the shit I used to write, like how I thought even 2 years ago or 3 years ago is completely different than it is today.
You're absolutely right.
And I wouldn't know that if I didn't have the journals to go back to.
And I also get value in a way that reminds me that all this growth that has happened since I made that entry. I am also still the same person who wrote that. And I am susceptible to regressing as well, too. I need to guard against regressing.
Absolutely.
Going back to that faulty thinking.
100%.
I guard against that because, you know, we're all capable and incapable. And that person that wrote that 8 years ago, you know, could resurface again. And it's a personal warning to me, and I've used it many times.
I really like that concept because I think that is something that a lot of people could use. I've never looked at it like that. I've always looked at it as like a guidebook going backwards.
Certainly.
You know, like okay, like this. I felt like this before. I dealt with something like this before.
Correct.
Like, what was I thinking at the time?
Correct.
Then I can say, okay, that worked or it didn't work, and then make adjustments. And it's like you're creating your own manual for life, but looking back, doing it.
And in the meantime, to me, it kept me humble and reacquainted myself with humility because that same guy that thought that way or wrote that is the same guy here today. But there's been a learning and there's been growth there. But I'm capable as a human to revert back to that. It's a reminder that, you know, you got to keep 100%. Moving forward. You got to keep growing. And you feel good because you have grown and you look at life differently. But it humbles me because that was the same guy.
And knowing that you can go back to that guy. And it can all be taken away instantaneously is a humbling experience.
And I don't focus on it, but it's like a little
reminder.
It's there on the fringe. You know what I mean?
It's like the little yellow lights that on your side view mirrors that light up.
That's
when a car's
it's a great analogy.
Warning.
It's a great analogy.
Like don't veer too far off.
That's
really what
because it's the same human that did both.
But I think we evolve as people. Like I think
that's the hope.
But I think we all do. Most people don't peel back the layers to see it. So I think human beings evolve, right? Our minds change. We get new information. We're constantly intaking new things and reframing things in our mind and creating new outputs, right? But I think truly the people that really understand it peel back the layers and understand why it's happening, right? Some people we just change over time because we grow older, we get fatter, we get lazier.
Speak for yourself,
right? I mean, but then the people in those situations when they're The evolution is peeling back and understanding, why am I getting fatter?
Right.
Why am I getting older?
Right.
Why am I getting slower?
Right.
Why am I lazy now? That's where the true growth
And
comes
some
in.
of it is a choice.
Right. But again, that's the hard part. Because people, one, don't want to peel back the layer and understand why they're doing something. And then when they get down to actually why they're doing it, it's a choice. And that is like a smack in the face. It's like, it's no one's fault but my own. I'm the one that picked up the McDonald's for the past 10 years. No one fed it to me. No one forced me to buy it. I was eating like shit for 10 years. That's why I'm unhealthy. It's the choices I made. Most people don't want to take that journey because it's hard.
It's uncomfortable.
It's super uncomfortable.
Yes, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean, it's ugly. It's ugly because everything in life is a choice. Like the success principle.
To not make a choice is a choice.
Exactly. Like you always say, indifference is a choice. And it really is. That is a choice you made to not decide. And that is, again, everything we do in life is a choice.
A little side here. Here's a little bit of physics that'll blow your mind. Apparently, and I don't have the exact amount of years. I'm going to guess. I think it's 9.5 years. But every day, your cells die and are reborn with new cells. So every 9 years or so, supposedly your whole body, your whole being is completely different than the one 9.5 years ago. I have the date wrong. Sue me. It's something.
No, I think it is like, I think it's like 8 or 9 years.
Whatever.
I know.
So if you took a snapshot in 2015, that Rocco Cozza is a different being.
Oh, he's definitely fucking different. Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
is that not? That's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. Cause I mean, I was just looking back at pictures today from the Tough Mudder we did in 2015. I'm like, I looked a little bit different back then. Like, I just look older now. Or
but
more
what a great metaphor though. Like if you could have a deep conversation with someone, because that is true, then
are you the same person?
Yeah. Especially if brain cells are dying and being I don't know how that works. It's very
either.
Interesting though. I mean,
there's so many ways, so many rabbit holes we can go down right now because I mean, that is evolute. That is, we're evolving as people and constantly growing. And we could be, that means that I'm what, 46. This is the 6th version of me. Right. I mean, this is
if you use 6. That time frame, if they're right with that, everything's everything's theoretical. Well, not everything. Excuse me. A lot of science is theoretical.
Yeah, but still, I mean, that means, and that's crazy. But again, I think that's what life's about, right? Life is about evolving, and that's why I don't understand. I just have a disconnect with people that don't look at life that way. They're just good where they are, and I'm happy for them. Like, that's great. Like that's totally cool. Like that's
what I'm happy with them.
Well, but I'm saying like it's not my place to say whether they should be happy or not. That's their choice.
I feel for them though.
I just can't relate because I believe like if I'm not growing, I'm dying. If I'm not learning something new, I'm regressing in intelligence. So to me, I'm constantly having to do and think and be and learn and read more. Yeah.
To me, it's at the age I'm at 58, I think I really am keyed on challenges as being at the apex of what I want now. Okay. I mean, money is up there too, and opportunity and family security and all that stuff. But I think challenges have reached the apex of what I would like to do. Different things that interest me, and having the courage to do things that are of interest.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny how life works, right? Because that's I'm at the point in life where to me it's not about money anymore. It's not about accolades. It's truly about creating something.
Right, you're building right now.
Creating something that lives past my death. And that's all I'm focused on. And that's what I love. That's what gets me up every day. And that's why I'll never quit.
And no, let's talk about that for a second. So and that's where like there's what is there, like a 10-year difference between us, 9-year difference? 12-year, 14,
12.
He'll tell you it's 20, but there's not 20.
I'm 36, so 46. So 12 years.
Well,
close enough.
See, I had that, and Boogie Street was the thing that was going to live and breathe beyond me, and then it ended. So then I had this little bit of a struggle with like, what's my next thing? And, is that dream dead? And then I realized as another decade went past and the creations we made and the things we did, and now it's like come back around. And there's like a little legacy in the guitar business of
Yep.
there's a stamp
Yeah.
of what we did. Yep. And I am now like at peace. That creative thing and leaving that stamp on the world, I did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
Yeah. In a way, it's
really
like that. So, and I kind of transcended that now, and I'm on to like the challenge thing, the next thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I get it completely. And it's
10 years from now, you might grow this law firm, huge, sell it and sell, around the Caribbean. I don't know.
Do you think I'm the type of person who's going to fucking get on a sailboat?
All your atoms are going to be gone in 9 years. You're going to be a completely different person.
Listen, man, I'm pretty confident. I know myself pretty well. I'm pretty confident that 10 years from now, you're not going to see me be like, you know what? Bought a sailboat, going to go sail around the world. Don't know how to do that. Don't know how to
those reasons have never stopped you from anything.
I would eat all the food in like the first week and probably starve to death in the middle of the ocean. So I'd be like, I'm bored. There's a bunch of food I brought. I don't know how to fish. I'm just eat all the pasta and I would die. I would be dead. So I'm not going to do that. But I get what you're saying. Like and look, as we grow the firm, like my role will definitely evolve. Like I won't necessarily be in the work as much as I am now, and more about the bigger picture and developing it and opening new markets. But to me, it's the game of it. Not even a game. It's just,
life's a game.
It is. And it's like, I want to do it because people said I couldn't.
Certainly.
Like that is a big reason. And it's not the only reason, because it's really like, I want my kids to see that anything you put your mind to is possible if you just put in the work and do more than other people.
Certainly.
That's it. But it's really about leaving something that is bigger than me.
And it's really, if you can imagine, it's like a puzzle. Life that journey is a puzzle. Yeah. And every time you start filling that puzzle up, they keep adding more pieces. Yeah. That 100-piece puzzle becomes 1,000 pieces. Yeah. Becomes 10,000 pieces. Becomes 100,000 pieces.
100%. I mean, just a year ago it was different than it is now. And like every month there's new challenges coming up. But I love that because it's like a new problem to solve. And I've learned a lot. I mean, the past 18 months, I've learned so much about myself as a person, as a man, as a leader, as a lawyer, as everything. And there's so much more to uncover. But that's what I love about it, because I get to become a different person throughout all this.
What about people? Like the entrepreneurial journey. You learn about your employees, your clients, your networking folks. Yep. That to me is an exciting part of the entrepreneurial journey for me, was just learning about people.
Yeah, I mean, I love the observation of people and just the people that work in my office. I mean, they're all at different spots in their career, so they're all looking at the world differently, and that's always my struggle, right? Because I always have to bring myself back to, they don't see the world like me because they can't. They're not where I am, and they're not me. So I'm always trying to adapt and look at things from their perspective. But I love watching their each individual journey, because they're all going through individual journeys in this thing we call life, from the youngest person in the office to the oldest person behind me. They're all at different spots in life. They're all going through different challenges, life challenges, professional challenges. I'm there to help them and serve them, but I'm also there to let them figure it out themselves a little bit. And that's kind of the struggle I have, right? Because there are problems. I'm like, I know how to solve this. But I want them to learn. And so it's a constant battle I have with myself, where I try and keep myself out of certain things so people can learn and do and solve problems themselves. Then there's the other part of me. It's like, I can get this done in 30 seconds. I know exactly what needs to be done, but I'm like, I can't do that. So it's a struggle when you're trying to watch people, manage people, lead people, inspire people, mentor people. It's a whole balancing act. And it's the hardest thing I've ever done. Definitely.
Yeah. One of the gravest injustices I've ever seen done to employees happened in an organization many years ago in my corporate life, where for a short period of time, a sales department was led by an absolute narcissist. Yeah. Out of work, good guy. Outside of work, you would never guess that. But when he put his game hat on, it was not the best example. There was success, but the way he came about it, and you could see young agents, they weren't agents, excuse me, young salespeople. This is before real estate. Yeah. And during the electronic device portion of my life,
the beepers.
Yeah, you could see the younger salespeople within that team learning from an absolute narcissist. And I remember standing back going, "Wow, that is not the right example." Yeah. I was not in a position to say anything about it. Yeah, but it's a shame. It's a shame. You have to be careful, who your mentors are.
Yeah.
Even in a work environment, you got to take the
hard.
good and try to disseminate the good from the bad and incorporate the good.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure a lot of young folks, incorporate it. Younger employees in general struggle with that.
I think just employees in general struggle with it because it's you have to, like, I look at I think the most successful employees, managers, leaders in an organization are authentic. Like, they're not different outside the office they are inside the office. Because, like, the guy you were just talking about, right? Outside the office is awesome. Inside's an asshole. One of those is not his real persona, right?
Right.
So how do you justify that?
Right.
How do you make that make sense?
Right.
To me, I think the best leaders are the ones that in the office, they are the exact same way as they are outside of the office. Maybe a little bit of nuance, but they treat people the same way. And I think those are the best leaders. Those are the leaders that inspire people because they're not putting on a front. They're not faking anything. They're not saying, well, I sit in the chair, so you have to listen to me. It's like, no, but when they're outside, I'm just like one of you.
Yeah.
You're either one or the other. You can't be both.
Correct. Yeah. And I think of rock solid character when I think that people that, whether their characters, if they're exhibiting high character in both personal, social, and business, it's the same person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you add a good skill set on top of that. You've got a really dynamic person there.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think if you are the type of person that people would not say, "Oh, you're so different outside of the office. You're doing something right." So I think you should be the same.
Correct.
You can have nuances depending on who you're talking to, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, I know there are certain clients that probably shouldn't swear as much as I do in front of other people, but I'm not going to totally change my language. Like, I know enough how to maneuver those situations,
right?
But I'm not going to be this prim and proper guy. Because that's just not me.
Sure.
And if I have to be that way in front of someone, that's probably the right client to work with,
right?
And I think people need to understand, like, just be you, embrace who you are, understand who you are at a deep level, and just let it fly. And don't try and be something you're not, or try and be someone else, or mimic the way, like, that's what always used to piss me off about entrepreneurs. And they would, like, buy these courses. It's like, that course worked for that guy because that's the guy that did it. That you may get some information, but if you follow that step by step, you're still not the guy. You're a different person. You got to be able to, like, look at it, take the information.
That's his journey.
Right. Exactly. But so many people make shit tons of money by selling their journey to other people.
And why is that? Because we want turnkey, because we want lazy.
We want lazy. Exactly. That's exactly it. Oh, you have the solution. I'm going to buy your solution.
All I have to do is do exactly what you say, and I'm going to get the same result as you. And life does not work that way.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It does not work that way. And that's what people don't get. Like, you have to find your own solution. You can use those as guidebooks.
Absolutely.
And markers and potential. Like,
see, that's work. To take from different elements and coalesce it all, and then create your own plan, and then go execute that plan.
Yeah.
To some, that is work.
Yeah. I mean, take a step back. As we sit here and talk about work, what would you be doing in life if you didn't have something to work on or work for? Like, could you imagine being like, I don't have shit to do every day. I'm not going to work for something, try and improve anything, do anything. I'm just going to get up and exist for day after day.
It's kind of like the pandemic era, right?
But I mean, I lost my mind during it, but I was still working, right? But there's people that just don't. They're like, I'm good. Like, how can you be good? Like, I don't get that. Like, I don't get that.
I don't
like,
get it either.
Like, if you're not challenging yourself, like, what is the point of life?
Bingo.
Like, what is the point? Like, just to
I don't know.
Be and exist in
I don't know, but I do worry about society, that we do have a lot of people that were I call it numbing oneself intellectually, and that's what media will throw at you. I mean, we have all the devices to basically just feed us quote unquote entertainment or diversions all day. And I think a lot of the population continues to succumb to it
because they're bored. They're bored. They're lazy. They need a distraction.
Question for you.
Yeah.
See, I don't buy that. Let me ask you.
Okay. Ask away.
We pre-95, pre-web, I could buy maybe the concept of a child or a younger adult being bored.
Okay.
I get it.
Okay.
Once the web is here, though, and you fast forward into the 2000s and 2010s, with everything that is out there, unless there's a mental deficiency of some kind with the individual, how the hell can anybody be bored?
Okay. Let me tell you why.
I don't get it.
I get it.
I don't.
So pre-95, take a look at the attention span, how much longer it was. We didn't have the speed of distractions we do. So we'll just use simple math as an example. Pre-95, my attention span for an activity was 30 minutes. I could engage in an activity for 30 minutes and not bored, right? Cool, done. Now it's probably 30 seconds because there's so much information coming at us. The speed of information is so rapid. It's like if I go on my phone, I have probably 30 apps on my phone that have notifications. My email notifications have 40,000 unread emails. So think about just the distractions of looking at my phone, right? So my attention is like, fuck, I gotta look at something else. So you can't, you can't focus on one thing. So you get bored very easily because we're distracted easier. Our attention span is lower. So we need something new to occupy our brain. So we maybe boredom is the wrong word, but we don't have the attention span as long as
we used to. Intellectually annoyed?
That's a good way of putting it. I don't think it's maybe intellectually annoyed. I think mentally annoyed. Okay. Mentally overstimulated. Okay. That's really what it is. Like I get overstimulated some days. Like, I think Jasmine walked to my office today. She's like, your office is a disaster. I'm like, no, it's not. Meanwhile, I'm thinking like, yeah, it's a fucking disaster. Like, I don't know what happened today. But there is shit everywhere, but I'm like, no, it's not. I know I'm good. Like, this is exactly how I want it. Meanwhile, I'm like, it is a fucking, my desk has shit everywhere. Cause I was like working on a bunch of different things. And it was just, I was a lot of moving pieces today. Okay. So it's like, yeah, like I'm mentally exhausted some days. Like there are many days where I'm mentally overstimulated. Okay. Like, that was one of those days where I'm like, yeah, you're right. I wouldn't admit that she was right. But she was right. But yeah, I think we are overstimulated. I mean, just think about this room. Like, think about the room. I mean, it's
intentionally made that way.
Right. Yeah. But all kidding aside, like think about like how.
Oh, it's batshit crazy in here.
Right. Like how, if someone does it, like I can zone it out because I've been here so many times.
Does it bother you? Is it OCD?
Not at all.
Okay. Some people does. Yeah, some people does. It does.
I'm the farthest thing from OCD. I mean, I'm the opposite of OCD. Yeah. I feel like.
Yeah, I think most people are.
If this was the first time I came here, I would definitely be like, oh.
Yeah, that's typically the reaction of a first time guest.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I've been here so many times, like I can just focus. I don't even pay attention to what's going on. But think about the overstimulation.
Yeah. Oh, it's overstimulated.
But it's intentional. It's an intentional overstimulation.
Certainly.
But I think a lot of things in life are just overstimulating.
To me, it's the idea was, and it wasn't my original idea. When I built the studio, was to do this because I read an article about someone who did something similar with a studio. Yeah, they made it visually wild looking, but they said it calmed the guests because they couldn't sit and think about their own insecurities about being on camera because they were literally like, "Holy hell, what is all this shit?"
No, that actually makes sense.
So it was actually it calmed them.
Yeah,
took their mind off of it. As opposed to you coming in here, this table was here with nothing here. That microphone, this microphone, we're staring at each other.
Oh, now what? You'd be very self-conscious.
Now what?
That's a really good point because this takes away people's self-consciousness because like people aren't looking at all these lights, they're not looking at me. They're looking at all this other shit.
I think it works. I know a lot of the people that have criticized this, and not criticized, they've suggested that it's too much. And to some, I get it. It might look too much, but there was a method to the idea, and and it became our thing, our look. Yeah. So I'm leaving it.
But. No, I mean I love it. I'm not overstimulated. But think about TV, right? When we were kids, we had 3 channels. Now there's like 1,000 channels. Why? Because people get bored easy. We got to give them more shit. We got to give them more entertainment. Like I remember growing up, like you had like a few channels,
a book,
and we had HBO that had the box. You go press the button.
Like we couldn't pay for HBO. We had to look between I was looking for the breasts between the squiggly lines on there. I think I see a nipple.
Skinemax. I mean, listen, but
you know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
It was
a different time, but now it's like when you look at like how many
was it a better time?
I mean, it was a different time. I couldn't imagine living like that now. Like, I have access to
Would
everything.
you be bored now?
I mean, I probably would be super fucking bored. Like, think of like,
I think we all would be.
I don't know. Like, I'm thinking about like when I was a kid, like you go outside and play. You'd like leave in the morning, come home when it was dark. Parents had no idea where we were, just gone for the day, come back. Oh, no one died. No one's injured.
Free range parenting.
It was because again, that's just what we did, right?
Yeah.
Like now it's like if we didn't have, because my entire life is in my phone.
Sure.
Like everything I need. So if we didn't have the technology like we do today, how would I communicate with people?
Right.
Like we used to drive to people's houses, grab a landline. We had beepers. You just have to stop at a payphone and literally like, all right, I'll be there. Like think about that. Like you, even before cell phones or before pagers, if you had to tell your friends where you were going to be that night and hope they showed up.
Absolutely right.
Or pick them up. That was it. After that, once you're out, like there was no getting a hold of you.
Yeah.
You had to drive around town and hope to see your friends' cars. Now it's like I can use an app to track where you are.
Well, I would say that, before the web, kids had to have a certain skill set that they don't possess anymore.
Okay. What is that skill set?
Well, it's a whole skill
set.
Survival.
Yeah.
How we contacted each other, how we located each other, intuition. Like, I think it's Thursday. He's probably here.
Exactly right. Maybe that's why we have good intuition at our age, because that's what we did as kids. Like when you think about it, it's like, okay, like,
or even dating.
Yeah. Yeah.
We listen, in 79, I was in junior high.
I was 2 years old.
If you liked the girl, you were hoping to maybe run into her maybe once in the hallway.
Yeah.
And then maybe have enough courage to call her landline phone and speak to her parents.
Oh, this is fucking worse.
Or talk to her girlfriends or other people that talk to them for you.
Yeah.
The communication was slower.
Yeah.
You knew very little about them.
Yeah.
You couldn't go online and see every picture they ever had and every vacation they ever had. It took a level of chutzpah, to be willing to take the courage to initiate the contact.
Yeah.
But in that was life skills.
100%. Like think about how I used to think about like how we would talk. You'd like ask a friend, what does this girl think of me? And like you're learning how to navigate people. Like who's and I'm thinking about like in a group of girls, who was the one that had the information? So you had to assess a group of 5 girls, like, because you can't ask, you ask the wrong one, you're fucked. You ask the wrong girl, they're blowing you up, no problem. But there's always the one in the group that's willing to give you the information and not sell you out. But you had to be astute enough to understand who is that person, who is the friend in that group of girls.
Oh, you got to befriend her friend, and once you befriend her friend, that's your in.
Yes.
But think about all the complexities. There's the relationship complexities.
Yeah.
That you learned when you were younger. And think about this: learning about heart-crushing defeat.
Yeah.
Heart-crushing disappointment.
Yeah.
Heart-crushing embarrassment.
Yeah.
And learning to navigate and maneuver all that. I'm sure there's still some of that.
Yeah.
Today, it's just dished out differently.
Well, and it's like it's unemotional. It's like swipe left, swipe right. You're good. I don't like you. It's that easy now. So it's. But back then, like you had to go through an entire process.
And look how invested you were in that mission.
Oh my God! When you said I'm going in, like you were literally going to battle.
I mean, whether you really like you opine for this one young lady just to be her boyfriend, and you go through this maneuver, and it takes weeks and months, or months, and then at the end you get shut down, and then the soul crushing experience of all that, and then dealing with it, and then learning to recover, and then putting things into perspective with each year as you get a little older.
Yes.
Your parents can't teach you that skill.
No, you have to go through it.
You have to go through it. And my question is, how much of those emotional maneuvers and those tactical maneuvers, and I mean that not in a seedy way, but the process of learning about people, your fellow friends, learning about them on a human level, without the technology.
Yeah,
that was a thing.
We need to get Gabe and Austin back in here to talk about this.
I think it'd be fantastic
because you're right. Like I'm thinking about like as kids, like that's how you made friends. You had to understand people. Like in the whole dating thing, like that thinking back, it was fascinating. Like
We didn't drill them hard enough that night to extract. We want to extract more information.
I'm curious
the process
because we had to go through an entire process
yes.
of you had to understand who you were attracted to. Is there a possibility she's also attracted to me? How do I find this out? Who's the right source of information? Who's the friend I can trust? How do I befriend that person? How do I make them not think I'm a creeper? And
on top of all that, you missed the most important part.
What's that?
In the end, you got to have the stones.
Yeah, right.
Ask.
Yes, so you've got to have the balls to ask the girl or write the note. Do you like me? Yes or no? That's it. And there's always that one motherfucker that wrote maybe. Maybe. It's like, well,
maybe.
Okay.
I'll get back to you.
Right. I mean, there were girls like that back in the day. It's like I'm like, I only gave you 2 answers for a reason.
Oh,
well, I'm gonna write.
How about this one? Well, I'm going out with Johnny, but if things break up, then I'll let you know.
Yeah.
And we took that as an answer, like, oh, okay. And you had a little bit of hope. There's hope.
I mean, I'll be very self-aware to admit, like, I would never break up with a girl until I had somebody that was kind of on the back burner. So I understand that wasn't the best way to operate, but you learn life skills, right? You learn how to navigate people, like dealing out a defeat, like breaking up with someone.
Most definitely.
Like now you do text, like, this isn't working out. But you had to face somebody. Like think about face to face with a female, telling that person, I just don't think it's working. It's not you, it's me.
It's a life skill, though.
It is. It is.
I mean, really, it's a life skill.
It is a life skill.
If you can learn to do that when you're young, you'll make a hell of an employer someday.
Yeah.
When you got to fire somebody.
It's not you, it's me. It's not you, it's us. That's it, man.
All right, partner. This was a great one. This is a great one. All right, friends. We'll see you again next week. As always, thank you so much.
Absolutely.